Hi, Justice Warriors. Heather Rolling, previously Cohen, Justice Warriors Investigations here. And my special guest today is Burt Stags. Hi, Burt.
Hi, Heather. Congratulations on the new marriage, by the way. I haven't had a chance to tell you that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, it's really exciting to me that we're doing this right now because we have a history, not just with this case, but with also other cases. But it's very ironic, what we're doing today and where we're at today with this, because you were actually the one that kind of enticed me to get involved with this case. Yeah, thanks a lot, Burt.
Well, it was too far from home. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a serious thing, but I didn't have time. And then after I guess you call broke the story when I was able to get the autopsy.
Right.
I only intended to do so much along the way because there were 7 or 8 other cold cases and to bring back the people that watch this, I guess they need the history.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, this was never meant to be more than just talking about a cold case in short.
Right.
My mom, I had literally requested 6 or 8 autopsies. I was going to do 6 or 8 cold cases, and literally sitting at dinner in a pizza restaurant, my mom says, "What about that lady that disappeared over in West Tennessee and they found her body at a cemetery?" And so I had to go back and look up the parameters to see who that was. And I included it in my request to the medical examiner. And then I filed them all away for 2 or 3 months. And I didn't know that this case was sitting like that.
Right.
So when we went public with it, I know some stations down in Memphis grabbed it, and then you and I discussed it. And from there on, I was like, here, I've done what I want to do with this case. And you took it and ran, and you've gone a long way with it.
Yep. Yeah, and we did have a guest there for a minute. I don't know where she went, but when we had first spoken about it, you just said, "Hey, look at this with fresh eyes." But it's funny that here we are, and and I've gone, I think, probably much deeper with it than you ever expected me to.
Like I said, it's no disrespect to anybody involved in that case, but
Exactly.
it was just going to be another 1-page thing for me, and that was it. And to bring a little light on some cold cases because a district attorney locally had asked me to look into some, so I didn't go any further with it.
Yeah. But so, like you said, you brought it to me. You said, "Hey, you should look at this with a fresh set of eyes." And boy, I took that case and I ran. And now here we are today. And we have different opinions on it at this point, which I thought was a really good opportunity because I respect you and I think you respect me. And I said, "Burt, let's talk about this." And, just in a respectful way. I respect your opinion, you respect mine, and we're still going to be friends at the end of the day.
Sure.
I am one of those people that, I feel like with my friends, I should be able to, and they should be able to say how they feel and what they think without, taking it personal.
Right.
And so, I thought, man, we've had all these podcasts and it's always me and Tracy, and Tracy has seen and heard the same witness audios I have. And, and so, she has pretty much the same opinion that I do, and that's not really much fun, is it? So I thought, man, let's get somebody on here. Let's give it some content, and let's get somebody on here that, can represent the other side of this, because I feel like, we are really divided right now. Dyer County, and basically anybody that is really following this case, there is this like division. There are these people over here that think this, and these people over here that think this. And man, it is, really confrontational sometimes between the two.
Wow.
And it doesn't have to be like that. I mean, I know in some cases, people have, personal investments, reasons why the subject would make them emotional. But, for most people, we should be able to have varying opinions on it without being hateful or mean or, just ugly.
Right. I mean, sometimes if you take both points of view and look at them, the truth is somewhere in the middle.
Right.
And
I believe that.
that's what I kind of believe may be the case in this case or multiple cases.
Right.
It's not always a or a B. Sometimes it's kind of in the middle.
Something in the middle. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I think, anybody that's been listening to the podcast and following me at all, I think they have a pretty good idea, what my thoughts and my opinions are. And anybody that's following you probably knows what your thoughts and opinions are, but I'm going to just give you the floor right now. And I want you to just, sell it to me. Like, tell me, what you think and why you think it.
Well, okay. I'm just going to take this and parallel it to almost every other case that I've been involved in. I don't know who did this. I don't think any of us know. None of us know who did it. We have
Absolutely.
thoughts,
Yeah.
but that's also not fair to them because none of them have been named suspects.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe persons of interest, but not suspects.
Right.
But that leads you to believe that I'm more statistical in the way I look at things. I tend to think that closer to home or people with knowledge or who know that person, the statistics on domestic violence assaults and domestic violence deaths and things like that. Women are traditionally killed by someone in their inner circle, a
Yep.
male in their life.
Right.
Now, let's be honest. In this case, that could get tentacles. It's
Mm-hmm.
possible
Mm-hmm.
because there could be a male in their life that we're aware of or not aware of, which could be even the third scenario. But
Right.
I tend to subscribe to Occam's razor, which basically means that the most simple explanation is usually the right answer.
Yeah.
And in this case, there was a divorce filed. There's no secret to that. There was some
Right.
petitions filed. It seemed to be getting pretty ugly reading the files.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm the detective, I'm starting close to home first, and I'm in no way accusing anybody. I'm just saying that's where I would start my net.
And that is not what this is about. It's never been what it's about. What it is about,
Right.
it has always been about, is making sure that the public has all the facts. I am extremely passionate about truth. And I think a lot of that probably has to do with my upbringing. And, there were a lot of things that happened in my childhood that I was called a liar about that, and so I've kind of just, even, in my early adult years, I've always had this kind of, maybe it's a compulsion to actually stand up for the truth. Like, not just if it's, my truth, but like also to stand up for other people whose voices aren't being heard. But anyway, I digress. So back to what I was saying, but, I just feel like, when it comes to any case, not just this case, that, these things are very relevant. The things that I uncovered, the things that I learned in my investigation, in my mind, were just very relevant to the case. And no judge and no jury and the public could come to a conclusion, an educated decision and conclusion on how they feel about the case or what they think happened, unless they know all of these facts. Do those facts mean that, I don't think it's a secret. So, does it mean that the people I've been investigating are the people who killed Karen? No, it doesn't. It could just mean what it means and nothing else. But the things that I have uncovered, I feel strongly and passionately that they at least provide reason to investigate, to consider these things and investigate, and not just, your motto is kind of the Occam's razor, where you just, stay focused on, the most obvious, because but sometimes it's not. And sometimes
Right.
there's a lot.
Sometimes it's not.
Yeah. And I just think that it would be a slap in the face to justice, to what justice stands for, to not provide all the facts. Was
Sure.
Karen having an affair or multiple affairs? I can say with 100% certainty, without any fear of it coming back and haunting me somehow, that she was having an affair. One man that I interviewed verified that he was having an affair with Karen. And the funny thing about that is, and I have not, even though I know that, I have never, blasted this man's name in the public. I have never seen this man's name in the public. But I mean, of course I provided it, to the DA's office and everything. And I don't think, honestly, from what I understand, the sheriff's department had already interviewed him. They already knew that. Like, that was not a secret either. But that affair was confirmed straight from the horse's mouth. He told me, yes, I was having an affair. Yes, I was questioned by DCSO,
And that expands what we talked about earlier. The men
right.
in the life. It's
Right.
one step out of the ring. So
Absolutely.
it expands that list.
And then there is another individual, and I feel like I'm just being, and there probably isn't reason to be at this point, but, the other individual whom I didn't get it straight from their mouth, but I got it from a close friend of Karen's, that I actually know for a fact that she did call Danny Goodman and did tell Danny Goodman that she had discussed that affair with Karen directly. So there were at least 2 that I know of. And, this isn't by any means some attempt to, smear Karen's name. She is a victim here. I want justice for her. Most of all, that is what this is all about. It's not about some petty little feud between me and the richest family in Dyersburg. It is about justice for her. And at the end of the day, if David did do it, and I have said this straight to David, I have no obligation to him. And, with that being said, when I set out to do this, it was to find the truth, and at the end of the day, if it's that David did it, then David's the one that should be held accountable for it. And I feel that, and I've told David, like, I'm not obligated to you. If at any point my view changed or I had reason to think you'd lied to me, then, it is what it is. Like, I'm going to have to face that truth. But it doesn't negate the fact that there are these other things over here that deserved to be investigated and looked at that were, and I think that the fact that I was hearing from these people so much that the sheriff's department wouldn't take them seriously, that made me, look in that direction even harder. Because I'm like, okay, this hasn't received the attention that it needs. And I gave it the attention that I believe it needed. So here we are. Okay, your turn. Sorry.
Well, that expands on the list of possible suspects or possible happenings.
Right.
When there's definitely some affairs. It just continues to spread out, and it goes out and out who they have to look at. You have done far more due diligence on this than I have. I mean, that's one thing that is indisputable is you've done a lot more real research on this than I have. I mean, I've spent 2-3 days up there, I think, and just pulled some files and got some autopsies and looked at some different things. So, and I guess if we were looking at this as now more than ever, in my prior journalistic life, I tend to do breaking news, and now I tend to report on trials. So now it's kind of shifted in how I do things. But I guess now what we're talking about would be if we're if we're looking at the spouse in a murder, we're looking at the criminal defense side of it as an alternate theory.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what you would have if we're just assuming that spouse is the number one suspect or a person of close personal contact, and then we move over to the other, then we're talking about alt theories of the case in a defense strategy. So, and those things are real and they deserve to have weight because they could be true.
Well,
So,
and what's funny about that is that, that's not how I looked at it when I got involved with this.
Mhm.
I didn't, I guess, I was still somewhat green. And I think that, these types of cases, I hadn't done too terribly many of them. And so, my view on it is I'm just going out there looking for the truth, because
right.
you've got the prosecution that's got their eyes set here. Of course, you're going to have the defense that's, there for the accused. Well, here I am somewhere in the middle, and I don't have a dog in this fight. The only thing I am fighting for is a better justice system that, um, that honors Lady Justice's motto of equality. And I feel that, not just with this case, but with many of the cases, and some cases that I didn't even necessarily work, but, from down around that area, that what I've gathered, what I'm realizing is that there really is a problem. There really is an issue with, these people over here being treated with favoritism, and these people over here, by God, they get the book thrown at them. With every little thing, these people are, they can do whatever the hell they want,
We
And,
definitely have a socioeconomic bias in our
right,
jury system, in our judicial system.
right.
I mean, there's no doubt that's true.
And, I know it's a big fight, because really it's like, the Karen Swift case is not by any means a small fight, but the bigger fight, the bigger picture is the fight for a better justice system,
Uh-huh.
and uh, well, I'll let you kind of kick us off with the recent developments. Why don't you, share that and
Uh, well, let's just talk about it in general. I was covering the Travis Ryan King Waffle House murders in Nashville. I'll be honest, this case has not crossed my mind. I think earlier last month, I had a slow day and some memories popped up, and I happened to share something in early January, and it was just mainly because it was just I hate to say this, but it was just filler. I
Yeah.
mean, I needed something in there that day, and I'd seen it in memories, so I thought, well, it's good. It's still cold, and it's still going. People
Mhm.
still talk about it from time to time. But I guess it was last week. I was sitting in trial, and I looked down, and I got a message, and then two, then three from Dyer County that
Mhm.
there was a search taking place at Willie Johnson Road
Right.
behind the former uh, residence of
Mhm.
David and Karen Swift, and multiple people sent me photos as they drove by,
Yeah.
which confirmed, which told me something was definitely going on. I reached out to my contact at the TBI, and they confirmed that they were assisting the Dyer County Sheriff's Office, and then Sheriff Box confirmed that there was a search there, and
Mhm.
it was linked to the Karen Swift murder investigation. And that's pretty much where we stand today. I don't think anybody has taken it any further than that.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll tell you a little bit about what I know about that, which isn't much. Um, Obviously, they don't report to me. But, when I got word that they were digging at the Swift home, I sent a message to General Goodman. And, I told you earlier, General Goodman has a way, it's like, when I come to him with something I'm hearing and it's not true, he'll say, that is not true, that's a rumor. And I said, Danny, I'm hearing that they have dug up a burn barrel. And his only response to me was, okay. And I said, oh, okay. All right. Got it. Got it. And I think, things like that, even though they probably wouldn't want like the public to know, their neighbors or people watching, they're seeing what's going on. They can't really deny it because, there's people that saw it. So, me, of course, I'm like, okay, well, I assume based on the location that, if this is what you think it is, that it would probably implicate David, and
That would be the most logical assumption.
yeah. So, so of course I wanted to talk to David. I wanted to find out, more about this burn barrel. I wanted to find out, how he would respond, and I asked him point blank if he'd ever buried anything in that backyard, and he said no. And I asked him if if they had burn barrels back there. He said yes, which is, pretty common. And he said that, he and Karen burned trash back there all the time instead of paying for trash pickup. That's what they did. Again, not that uncommon, but he said that, Karen had, which, may be irrelevant, but he said that she had actually accidentally set the place on fire a couple times and that they had almost been fined for it. He said that I asked him how many burn barrels there were, and he said two. And I asked him if they were both there when he moved, and he said, yeah, he thinks so. So I took it a step further. And we know that David and Karen lived there from 2014 to 2018. Then it was sold. I'm not sure. I have not done my due diligence on that yet. I'm not sure who the owners were after them. So there was somebody in between. And then after that, it was Margaret Welch and her live-in boyfriend, Thad. And I am a friend of, Maggie and I are friends. So I called Maggie and I asked her when she moved in, how many burn barrels were back there? And she said one. And I asked her, I said, well, did you guys ever bury a burn barrel back there? And she said, no. So what that tells me is that somewhere between, assuming that David is telling me the truth, of course, that the burn barrel, unless it was a burn barrel that was buried long before, which, logically, I think it's, we're assuming, which is probably a safe assumption, that it's the missing burn barrel. There were two, then there's one. So it's probably that one. Question is who buried it? And, so assuming that David is telling the truth, then it happened somewhere between when David lived there and Maggie and Thad moved in, which if you give me a second, I can tell you. Okay, the house was built in 2005, sold to the Swifts in 2018, sold in 2014, then sold again in 2017 to Maggie and Thad, and then sold again in 2021 to the people that are there now.
So we're talking about a period of 7 years?
Yes.
No, 8. Well, one thing, okay. No, longer.
14.
What?
No. Okay, Tracy messaged me 2017, but I think it was 2018 when they sold it to Thad and Maggie. So that means it'd be 4 years. 4 years between the time that Swifts sold it and Maggie and Thad bought it. So sometime in that 4 years, somebody buried a burn barrel.
Or, I'm a country boy. Burn barrels, after a while, after enough's burnt in them, they start breaking down.
Yes.
from the
And that
weather
was
and stuff.
David's explanation to me.
So it could be there could actually not be a missing barrel per se. There
Yeah.
could be, it could have just been one that deteriorated over the course of the years and fell apart.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, that is my opinion of the burn barrel right now.
Mm-hmm.
Until I have more details, until I have heard what is in the burn barrel, I am going to assume that it's nothing. I really don't think there's anything to it. I think what's going to happen is it's going to go quiet. They may or may not release a report saying that, there wasn't anything substantial. But I don't think it's going to result in anything. Now, of course, that's kind of a bold statement. I'm going to feel really stupid if it comes back and it's some big thing, but that's just my opinion right now, based on the information I have, which is all I can base an opinion on. So, yeah.
It's just pure speculation at this point to go any further than supposedly there was a burn barrel located and dug up, and
Right.
that's what we know. Anything else would be pure speculation.
Exactly. But, honestly, I feel like this is good. We want the public to be interested in this. We want, I would rather, people be debating over than to forget about it. Because when we forget about it, then that's when it just, I feel like the fact that the public has stayed so adamant about getting justice for Karen is probably a majority of the reason why we're here today with the TBI still digging and the developments, and people are still interested in it. They haven't forgotten, and that's a good thing. Even if it is a little painful for some like me, because the attacks and whatever, I'd rather that be going on than just for Karen to be forgotten about. Yeah.
When I originally did those original 9 or 10, that's what it was about. Is just to bring focus back to victims that had been cold.
Right.
That's the only reason. And I guess in a weird way, my mom asking me about that case lit a fire under this one.
It did.
It was never in an intent to get it to go this far, but no matter what's happened, I'm glad it did happen.
Well, Burt, I don't know. I think you know me pretty well, but you should know I don't half-ass anything.
But I know you better now than I knew you then. I knew you better now than I knew you then. So yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Because we had just really talked about Bobo and some other things at that point. Yeah, and then that split over into. Just look. I like to take these things as they go. This thing started as Swift, and then it spilled down to Wesley Conway, and we actually have a trial date in Wesley Conway now. Just think. There's so many things, and he's now retired, so I think we could tell a funny story about how these things develop. And I think people that are watching these things like to hear this stuff. Do you remember the day we went into the circuit court clerk's office and another Danny Tanner is basically telling me, I really don't wish you'd look into this.
Yeah.
And I thought he was being crooked.
Right.
And I've told him, so now it's kind of fun. And then he calls me back and says, I had the indictments laying in my desk. I was waiting on the last 2. So it's kind of fun that the way these things progress, and it's good that there's people like you out there to really fight for justice. And this justice warrior thing you started is incredible. Because you put a lot of passion into it, and that's good.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, Hardin County, which is where the, Wesley Conway case is being heard, right?
No, that's Decatur. Hardin's south of it. We're heading to Hardin tomorrow.
Oh, that's right. But it's Matt Stowe's office that's prosecuting.
They're all the same district.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. I don't know why that's so confusing for me.
Just remember, from Mississippi to Kentucky is Matt Stowe.
Yeah. Yeah. But now what in the world was that's
you were going to ask me about Decatur County. You were going to either ask me about Decatur County or Hardin County.
Yeah. I don't
or
know.
Matt Stowe?
Yeah, it was something. It was something that I was coming from Matt Stowe, and Matt Stowe is the DA that was on the show. Have you watched the show?
I've seen parts of it. I haven't seen it all.
Okay, okay.
I need to go back and watch it.
Well, it's actually on ID channel now.
Oh,
So
okay. I'll
yeah,
definitely check that out.
yeah. I'm really excited about that because now my grandma can watch it. So
Uh, we'll be meeting with General Stowe on Wednesday on the officer-involved shooting that led to the murder of the police officer. So
wow,
that's Wednesday morning. That's the next one.
yeah. I really like Matt Stowe. I think he's a
I
great
do
DA.
too.
Yeah. I think
It,
I, like I said earlier, as a PI, I feel like, my goal is truth. DA's office is to prosecute, criminal defense is to get the criminal off. I like my position. I like where I'm at. Now, when I'm hired specifically for criminal defense, it's a little different.
mhm.
I'm working for the attorney or whatever. I can't, even if I find something that implicates something, I'm not going to like go public and be like, okay, I changed my mind. This guy's guilty. I can't do that.
Right.
But what I really like about Stowe is that I feel like with him, it's more about truth and justice than it is about numbers. And, I feel that way personally about General Stowe.
Matt is extremely detail oriented,
Yes.
and he's probably more detail oriented and hands on than any other DA that I work with, and that's a good thing.
I agree.
It sometimes leads to some slower caseloads, but they're more thorough, I think, caseloads. But then, I was with General Funk this weekend or this past week in the Travis Reinking case, and I work with General Cooper a lot over in the Middle Tennessee district, and they're all just different. I mean, and it's just a different style. But Matt Stowe is just incredibly gifted. He's so smart. And that's not to say that Glenn Frunk and Brett Cooper aren't. I'm just saying Matt Stowe is like a different level smart than most people. He
Yes.
functions up here,
He is.
and then sometimes I think maybe that leads to him to maybe I'm just going to say this, and I think he'll appreciate it.
Yeah.
I think he overthinks a case or two every so often, and doesn't just go, and that might be a good thing. It leads to a little bit slower stuff in that district than I'm used to in the other two districts. So, but he's a great DA, and I really like General Stowe.
He said things to me before that I didn't actually understand or get till later, and then I'll just be sitting there and be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, he's that kind. Yeah, he's that kind of smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's that kind of smart. And I know he's up for re-election, and I hope he's successful. But if he's not, I think we'll probably hear his name again, and it'll be like writing for some Supreme Court justice an opinion. I mean, he's that kind of smart.
Yeah, I agree.
He's like Alan I tell people, if people ask me about Matt Stowe, I said, he's like Alan Dershowitz smart. I mean, he's that kind of smart.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I just want to tell people that I'm sorry. I've had to mute several people because they have come in and I can hear their background, and
Okay.
not trying to be rude. If you have something to say, put in chat that you'd like to speak, and we'll certainly let you speak.
Sure. Turn this into one of those Reddit AMA things. Ask me anything if you want to.
If y'all have questions, if there's something specifically you want to know about, you want us to speak about, let us know. And unless it's going to land us in jail, I promise you we will. But what else can we talk about with the case right now?
The Swift case?
Yeah.
I meant not to be haphazard about it. I mean, I've moved on to other cases, and then I just look through my files from time to time and try to see if there's any updates. So I haven't done anything with Swift in over probably 18 months outside of forwarding, reposting something to just kind of keep it as a topic. So it pops back up and things like that. So honestly, I mean, I don't know anything additional about it. With me, there's always something new. Last week it was Travis Reinking, and a couple of weeks we're moving to Crystal Daniels. So I can't really speak on it. Is there anything from your side?
No, I mean, and that's the thing. I feel like, and it's really frustrating. I feel like a lot of my energy and attention has been diverted and is, now more on the civil stuff, and was on the criminal charges that just got dropped. I don't know how many people are aware of this. I'm sure if you read the State Gazette, but the stalking charges that I had against, the people that I was investigating. Um, I feel silly for being so evasive, but I mean, I think everybody knows. I don't think I have to, say anything, specify who I'm talking about. But those, I got word a couple days before the trial that the pro tem had filed a nollie prosk and was refusing to prosecute. So the charges are dropped. And, initially I was like, it was without prejudice. So I'm like, I'll just go back before the grand jury and I'm going to push this. This is bullshit. I'm not going to let them get away with this. And then I'm just like, you know what? This shit's exhausting. Like, I'm just, fuck it. I mean, here comes the language, but I can't. I don't have the energy. I'm tired. And back to what I was originally saying when I got off on all that, is just simply that I feel that the attention has gotten off of Karen. It has gotten off of the case, and now it's all about stalking charges and civil cases. And I hate that. That is not what I got involved in this for. I feel like it's just a incredible waste of time and resources. And I just want to get back to working on getting justice for Karen,
Right. And that happens in these cases.
Yeah.
And you didn't really, when you were talking about a couple things about it being exhausting,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that between you and I, we both have a lot of followers, and, my friend Nick Barris and two or three more of us, that we do this for a living. And I don't think they realize the exhaustion level that this reaches. Like, like you've reached out to me since Friday, and between a 6-day trial, 4-day jury selection, dealing with 4 family members who lost loved ones, and constantly having to talk to them to get information, and then to watch them be so anguished about having to look at the person in the courtroom that killed their child,
Mm-hmm.
and finally getting a chance to talk to him, it is so emotionally draining.
It really is.
And sometimes I come across a little coarse in some of my lives or things that I write, and I sound frustrated. And it's not that I'm angry at anybody, or it's not that I don't value their opinion. It's just after a while, it's like, and I mean this is as serious as I can get. It's that I don't want somebody in Iowa who has never set foot in a courtroom in Tennessee and has never talked to any of these victims or any of these suspects to tell me what really happened.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I'm sorry. I respect. I'm glad you follow, but if you're sitting over in Des Moines, Iowa, and you're trying to tell me what happened to Joe Clyde Daniels or Karen Swift or Travis Ryan King or any of these cases, you don't know. You only know what you've read, what we wrote, and you've taken things off of it. And that is so, it just tears your energy level, and it exhausts you to the point. And I know you've put a lot of time and resources and capital into the Karen Swift case, and it's exhausting for people to hey, they're entitled to their opinion,
Mm-hmm.
but that's just opinion. It's not fact.
Right. And it's
You
okay
know, and
public discussions, and, especially theories and, uh, I don't want to say suspects or persons of interest, because technically they're not, but, people that are of interest to the public, we'll say it that way,
sure.
and when those theories and those possibilities have been presented to the public, it is a matter of public concern, and it is healthy, I think,
Mm-hmm.
for it's not, of course, within some boundaries, to have these discussions. There are boundaries. But
Right. Right. And you mentioned boundaries, and that's something that, since we're doing this today, the Joe Clyde Daniels case is so well known nationally and things like that. And I don't even know if you know this, but the guy that was driving by the Joe Clyde Daniels and saw who he believed to be Joe Clyde on the roadside, because he testified and people believe that somehow got the mistaken idea that he was involved, they have persecuted that guy.
oh
They
yeah,
called him. They called him at work. They threatened his boss. They threatened his family. They threatened him. And
always.
about 4 weeks ago, he committed suicide.
Oh God. Well,
I
I'm
mean,
like oh, what was the guy's name that was ginseng hung in? Shit, I can't talk. Ginseng hunting and
Larry Stone.
yes, thank you. He was attacked also, and there
Mhm.
were rumors, theories going around that he was involved. Because of because he found her or whatever. I'm
Yeah.
well, and even if you want to, not to because of course I've got my stories, and I'm not trying to bring the focus back to me per se, but then there's even in the Holly Bobo case, this is not the first time that I have been persecuted. Um,
Well, there's working with law and crime, I've learned that there are actually psychiatrists
mhm,
that study the attacks on journalists and witnesses.
mhm.
And I didn't realize it was so common,
Oh,
but a friend of mine is working a case out of Iowa or one of those square states out there where a little boy disappeared, and she started receiving death threats at her station that she was involved in helping to cover it up.
yeah,
And I talked to one of the psychiatrists with one of the networks, and it's amazing how often those type of people, and this is terrible, have suffered a traumatic loss, and
mhm.
they feel like they didn't get justice.
Yeah.
So they internalize these cases, and then they attack you, they attack me, they attack Larry Stone or witnesses.
Really,
They feel like they got to blame somebody.
yeah. But it's like sometimes it's like the people they're attacking are doing something good. It's like,
Sure.
it's that, and I've said this in my podcast, so I'm not trying to, be a broken record, but no good deed goes unpunished. I'm really struggling today. Too much coffee.
I,
No
I need some.
goes unpunished. And sadly, I think in these types of cases, it's like, somebody, and you do have, you're going to be my savior again here because you remembered Larry Stone's name. And then there's also the case with the girls in the basement in Ohio and the guy,
Oh yeah, the friends that were kidnapped and killed down by the bridge.
remember the guy's name?
Uh, not can't write it off the top of my head.
Well, I don't remember his name either. I can picture him, but I don't remember his name. But anyway, that guy had like volunteered in missing person searches for the girls and had fundraisers and it buddied up to the family. And I mean, yeah, that is, the guilty party, the perpetrator, generally will return to the crime scene. Generally, and depending on what type of, murder, what type of killer we're looking at, will sometimes even go as far as to insert themselves in the case.
Often insert themselves into the case.
But that being
Um,
said, that was kind of, so I think anytime you see somebody volunteering and, doing these good things, the public will look at them and be like, you did it.
I think there's a healthy level of volunteering, and then there becomes a level where you start thinking,
Excessive level.
yeah, not to name names, but the Bobo case,
Yeah.
there was like a list of 15 suspects developed by some of the people you're friends with.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I'm not going to say it,
No,
but
I might have been on that list. I don't
if,
know.
if I saw the list, and it would hurt some people's feelings that we know to know that they were on the list of possible suspects, and all they did was interject themselves into the case. And I know most of those people now, and they were not involved. They just wanted to help, but they got a little carried away,
Yeah.
you know.
I mean,
So, and there's nothing wrong with that. And
uh,
they've helped a lot of people since.
yeah, I was just gonna say, honestly, I think that those are the people that we need in these cases. We need that, so
Right.
there may be something somewhat unhealthy about it, but at the same time, it's what, again, like we said earlier, keeps the case alive. And that is the most important part of it, just to make sure that our victims are not being forgotten.
Yeah, these cases, once they go cold, like I said, I've mentioned Waffle House a couple times. That was only 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was amazing when we used the name Travis Ryan King, that so many people would say, "Who?" And then you'd say, "The Waffle House murders." They'd say, "Oh yeah."
Mm-hmm.
They got forgot, and those 4 victims should never be forgot.
No.
So, and that was the big thing. Is I was really impressed with my friend Stephanie Langston from Channel 2. Every morning when she put out her first tweet of the day about the trial, she used a photo of the 4 victims instead of the suspect. And I really admired that.
Yeah, I like that too. Yeah, that's a great way to approach it. But I
Mm-hmm.
won't keep you too much longer. But I do want to tell you there are some really exciting things coming up that I want you to be involved in.
Good, definitely,
We
will
are,
do.
I don't want to say too much just yet, but April or May, we're talking about the end of April, beginning of May, we're going to be hosting a victims' rights rally. And
That's cool. That's needed.
I've already started, putting in phone calls. I've already got a list of people that, elected officials that have agreed to come and speak on the issue. So I think it's going to be, and also some headliners. We're going to have some music, and I think it's going to be really good. The people of Dyersburg, I can just off the top of my head think of, half a dozen or more people that I've spoken to recently that I know would love to come speak about their loved one that was murdered, and there's unsolved murders and unsolved missing person cases, and all
Sure.
that.
And there's so many of them. And it's a lot of people, and I'm assuming we're talking to a lot of people from Tennessee, but nationwide too.
Yeah.
Tennessee has a very strong victims' rights advocacy law.
Yes.
They're entitled to a lot of things,
Yeah.
and victims should be aware of that.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. I think that there just maybe aren't enough resources, aren't enough people in, giving them that information.
Right.
That's probably more it's not that the policies and the protections are not there for them. It's just that they're not aware that they're there for them. So.
That's absolutely right.
All right. Well, it's been great talking to you.
It has been.
Thanks to everybody who joined us. We're signing off now, so speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay, not forever, but
It's Monday,
At least until later this afternoon, because I'm taking a short break.
I want to take a break rest of the day. I've got 3 more hearings this week, so I'm taking the rest of the day off.
Right. Well, that's why I said short break for me, but you've been going at it for days on end. So, All right, Burt, you have a great day. Thank you so much. It was great talking
You're
to you.
welcome. See you soon.
All right. Bye.